Thanks so much. Staying with our politics lead, my next guest has gone from being an afterthought to showing some real signs of strength in New Hampshire with a little more over than a month until that state's primary. How can he seal the deal with voters? And joining me now, standing in his Tell It Like It Is bus, which is parked in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, New Jersey Governor and Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie. Governor Christie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Jake. Appreciate it.
So your single-minded focus on New Hampshire appears to be paying off. You're third in the CNN poll in the Granite State behind Trump and Rubio. Do you think it's fair to say that you need to finish in third place or better in New Hampshire for your campaign to credibly continue?
Let's talk on January 15th, Jake. Let's see. So I think starting around the 15th, you can really get a handle on these polls starting to solidify and people in New Hampshire making up their minds. So have me back on January 15th, and I'll give you an affirmative answer one way or the other.
I'm penciling you in right now. Let's talk about some of your rivals. I'm a bit confused by some of your criticisms of Senator Marco Rubio. You've gone after him for missing key Senate votes. You've also gone after him for not campaigning in New Hampshire. Where do you think Rubio should be, and where is he?
Well, I don't know where he is. He's apparently not in Washington. I know he's not in New Hampshire either. My point on the Senate vote was, don't come out and say that you are opposed to the spending bill that Congress is going to pass, and you're a member of the United States Senate, and then not show up to work to vote no. I mean, that people think that's strange, Jake, that you have an opportunity to vote no on something you say you're opposed to, and you don't show up and vote. So that was my point on that. It's not a series of votes. It's that particular vote where he has said he's opposed to the spending bill. Well, then go down there, make a speech on the floor of the Senate, try to persuade people, and if you can, at least vote no yourself.
And you've said that you can do your job from the road as governor.
I do my job from the road every day, and by the way, when I need to be home, I go home. So I'll be home tonight. I'll be in the State House tomorrow doing my job in Trenton, New Jersey. And I do my job from the road. And you can be guaranteed this. If I said that there was a bill that came to my desk that I was opposed to, I wouldn't miss the opportunity to veto it by not showing up in New Jersey and executing on the veto. That's the difference.
You were critical of Senator Ted Cruz for saying that the U.S. should carpet bomb ISIS in Iraq and Syria. What's your issue with that?
My issue with it is that's tough talk, but when he had the opportunity to protect the homeland by preserving the NSA metadata program, he voted the other way. So, don't be talking tough on one end, but then not give intelligence community and our law enforcement community the tools they need to protect the homeland. And I think those things are just contradictory.
I want to play for you a question that you got in New Hampshire yesterday. Take a listen.
When we talk about you, and this is no disrespect, one of the biggest things I hear all the time is shady. How do you convince me, and right now my vote is wide open. I love everything you're talking about tonight. But how do you convince me that you're not shady and you're actually here to help us?
Do you think that that is what's keeping you from being in first place, this perception among some voters that you're shady, that the Bridgegate scandal really is indicative of a bigger problem with you?
No, in fact, if you showed the rest of that tape, I then asked him what made him think that. And he said, I don't know. I mean, so no, I don't think it's anything in particular. I think what we concluded, he and I had a conversation back and forth about it, was he said, well, it's probably because you're from New Jersey. So listen, there are just certain cultural things that get baked in some people's minds after, Jersey Shore and The Sopranos that make people think certain ways. But I wanted to know what he wanted. If he had played the rest of it, we went back and forth, and I questioned him about, so what makes you feel that way? And eventually what they concluded was it was just because I'm from New Jersey. So I said to him, well, heck, man, there's nothing I can do about that. I was born there and raised there, proud to be from there. So that was really all that was, Jake.
As you know, I'm from Philadelphia. I'm going to hold my tongue when it comes to New Jersey. The Clinton campaign...
Be very careful, Jake. Very careful, Jake.
The Clinton campaign doubling down on Hillary Clinton's claim that ISIS is using video of Donald Trump to recruit new members. We have found no evidence that ISIS is doing that. The Hillary Clinton campaign says Trump's rhetoric about Muslims hurts us in the fight against ISIS. Do you think that point is true?
What I think, Jake, is the two of them should stop bickering about their personal disagreements with each other and who should apologize to who. And we should get back to talking about the things that Americans really care about: protecting the security of the homeland, making sure that our intelligence and our law enforcement communities have all the tools they need to be able to protect us, coming up with a strategy to beat ISIS where they live and where they're breeding. And making sure that our economy begins to recover so that we don't have stagnant middle-class wages for the next 15 years. Those are the things we should be talking about. I'm so tired of hearing about the bickering between Donald Trump and Hillary or Donald Trump and Jeb. They should all grow up and start talking about the issues that people really care about, not the issues that concern them personally.
Okay, and that's fair enough when it comes to the bickering, but this issue about whether or not Donald Trump's rhetoric actually hurts the United States in the war against radical Islam, that's a legitimate issue to discuss.
Well, listen, you know what? No, I don't think it hurts it any more than Hillary Clinton saying we're right where we need to be with ISIS. I mean, you know, both of them have said some things that I don't agree with. You know, she's also said that Assad was a reformer. So, you know, we could go back and parse all of their statements back and forth and say whether it helps us or hurts us. What will really help us is we get a commander-in-chief behind the desk in the Oval Office who understands how to fight terrorism because he's done it. I'm the only one in this race who has done that. If the people give me the chance to be president, they'll see an effective terrorism fighter as president of the United States.
You've said that Republicans need to focus on drawing a strong contrast with Hillary Clinton. Last night, Donald Trump did something like that. He said that what Clinton did during a debate bathroom break was, quote, too disgusting to talk about. And then he said she got, quote, schlonged by Barack Obama in 2008. Thoughts?
None. None. Not going to respond to everything that comes out of Donald's mouth.
Is it appropriate for a presidential candidate to use the word schlonged in that way?
I am not going to respond to everything that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. It may fascinate all of you. It is of absolutely no interest to me. I'm running for president of the United States, Jake.
Okay, I will say, when you say you have no thoughts on that, I don't believe you, but I will move on.
No, I said, no, Jake, I didn't say I had no thoughts. I said I had no interest. That's different. Plenty of thoughts, no interest in discussing it.
All right, fair enough. This weekend, you said you've been going after Senators Cruz and Rubio the most because those two, quote, have made the biggest mistakes at the moment. But that is hard to square with comments made by Trump. Jeb Bush says he's the only one tough enough to stand up to Donald Trump.
I've heard Jeb say that. It's fascinating to me. I don't think the complaint about me has ever been that I'm not tough enough. So, you know, if Jeb somehow thinks he's tougher than I am, that's certainly, he is absolutely entitled to his opinion. But I think over the course of time, there are two things people have never said about me, that I'm not tough enough and that I'm misunderstood. And so I'll continue to be who I am, and we'll let the voters decide.
Governor Chris Christie, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you and your beautiful family. Thanks for joining us today.
Jake, thanks. Happy holidays to you and your family, and a great new year. I look forward to talking to you again real soon.